Maha-Bharata, Part 2, Chapter 7, Bhishma wreaks havoc. On the third day of the battle, the Kurus formed their troops into the Garuda Vyuha, shaped like the divine eagle with outspread wings. On the neck of the eagle stood Bhishmadev, and its two eyes were Drona and Kritavarma. At its head stood Ashvatthama and Kripa Acharya, backed by the Matsya, Kekaya, and Vatadana armies. Other armies made up its two wings and back. Duryodhana, with all of his followers, were at its center and tail. In opposition to the Kurus, the Pandavas countered with a formation in the shape of a crescent, with its points toward the enemy. Bhimasena stood at the right point, surrounded by many kings. Drishtadyumna and the immense Panchala army formed its middle. Behind was Yudhishthir, protected by Satyaki and numerous other chariot fighters. Arjuna stood at the left point with Ghatotkacha and his awful Rakshasa troops. Then the two armies closed in on each other to the sound of countless drums and conchels. They resembled two clouds merging in the heavens, and as soon as they met, the great slaughter once again began. Urged on by Krishna, Arjuna displayed his full prowess. Arjuna seemed like the destroyer himself at the end of creation. Many heroes, hoping to either win glory or death as their goal, came before Arjuna as he let loose his shafts. The soldiers fell by the thousands as Arjuna carved a path through the Kauravas. Fearing that Arjuna might destroy his entire force in just one day, Duryodhana commanded his generals to surround Arjuna. Coming upon him from all sides, they hurled their bright lances, darts, clubs, maces, pikes, battle axes, mallets, and arrows. Smiling in the midst of the downpour of weapons, Arjuna quickly checked them with his arrows. And at the same time, Arjuna maintained his attack on his assailants. While in the sky, celestials were astonished by Arjuna's extraordinary lightness of hand, and they praised Arjuna loudly. As Arjuna engaged with the Kuru chiefs, other Pandava heroes also attacked the Kauravas. Yudhishthir and the twins fought furiously, driving back the Kuru forces with their incessant showers of arrows. Bhimasena and Ghatotkacha, father and son together, performed terrible feats of valor. Clenching his teeth in fury, Duryodhana challenged Bhimasena. Bhima at once fired an iron arrow at Duryodhana, striking him on the chest, and Duryodhana collapsed on the floor of his chariot. His charioteer quickly carried him away, and all the troops supporting Duryodhana broke and fled. And as Bhima, Ghatotkacha, Yudhishthir, and the twins fought together, Abhimanyu joined them. At the same time, Arjuna continued attacking the kings surrounding him. Thus, the Pandava warriors assailed the Kauravas like a hurricane tearing through a forest. Although both Bhishma and Drona tried to rally their fleeing troops, they were unsuccessful. Coming back to life, Duryodhana again stood in his chariot. Now, seeing the commotion, Duryodhana called out to his panic-stricken soldiers, Where will you go, O foolish men, leaving behind your fame? Do not act like eunuchs. Why, the fight has hardly begun. And while I am standing, and while Bhishma and Drona lead us, how will we not gain victory? Turn back! Fight! Now, feeling shameful, the warriors stopped. Desiring to exhibit their prowess, they turned back toward the Pandavas. The huge Kaurava army rallied and resembled the sea surging at the tide of the full moon. And as they again rushed towards the foe, Duryodhana rode over to Bhishma Dev. "O grandfather, O descendant of Bharata, please hear my words." Bhishma Dev lowered his bow and looked across at the agitated prince. It was quite obvious Duryodhana was angry and was trying to control the harshness in his voice. "O scion of this Kuru race, I do not consider the Pandavas to be a match for you. For when you are fighting, backed by Drona, Kripa, Ashvatthama, and so many other Maha-Bharatas, how is it possible that my troops are flying away from the battle? Surely you are favoring the Pandavas. Therefore you forgive them for the slaughter of our men. O king, you should have told me before the battle began that you would not fight the Pandavas. I would then have consulted with Karna and decided what needed to be done. O best of men, if I do not deserve to have you abandon me, then fight to the utmost of your power." O king, have I not told you on so many occasions that the Pandavas are invincible? Nevertheless, I will do whatever I am capable of doing. Now, see my power in fighting. Within the sight of all, I will chastise the Pandavas along with their troops and kinsmen. Smiling, Duryodhana clenched his fist. He then ordered drums and conch shells to be sounded. As the sun began its descent towards the west, Bhishma advanced towards the Pandavas, flanked by the best of the Kauravas. Seeing the Kauravas returning back to the battle, roaring and beating their drums, the Pandavas cheered and blew their conch shells in reply. The fight then resumed. Warriors on both sides again fell like ripe ears of corn in a field. The brave shouts of thousands of fighters merged together, sounding like a roaring sea. "Stand your ground! Strike! Turn back! On your guard! Here I am!" These were the cries that could be heard everywhere, while the stench of blood filled the air. The warriors could hardly traverse the battlefield. It was so thick with corpses. Strewn with colored armor, turbans, and ornaments, the battlefield appeared as beautiful as the autumn sky at night. Though mortally wounded, warriors were seen to rush upon their enemies with pride. Others, who lay dying, called out to their loved ones, "O father, O brother, uncle, do not abandon me." In some places, headless trunks ran about wildly, blood spurting from their severed necks. In accord with his promise to Duryodhana, Bhishma wrought a terrible havoc on the battlefield. His bow was constantly drawn to a circle. Virulent arrows sped in all directions, cutting down warriors by the thousands. His blazing shafts never missed their target. The old Kuru chief trained his weapons on all the principal Pandava heroes, calling them out by name as he fired. His chariot made wondrous motions as it careened about. It seemed as if he was everywhere at the same time, and he left a trail of destruction in his wake. Everyone who saw Bhishma considered that he had somehow multiplied himself 1,000-fold by the power of illusion. No one could even look at him. All they could see was an endless stream of arrows leaving his bow. The Pandavas and their allies then gave way to lamentation. Any Kshatriya brave enough to encounter Bhishma Dev was immediately dispatched to the abode of death. Whoever came near Bhishma was seen at that moment to fall to the ground. With a single long arrow, Bhishma pierced 3 or 4 men seated on the back of an elephant, and with another shaft, Bhishma slew the elephant itself. Horsemen and infantry were swept away like leaves blown by a strong wind. The Pandava army trembled and gave way, fleeing in all directions. They were so completely routed that no 2 persons were seen together. Crying out, they scattered in fear. Many men with disheveled hair and clothes could be seen running away in terror, throwing aside their weapons and armor. Even the Pandava chiefs were confounded by Bhishma's prowess. Seeing the Pandavas' confusion, Krishna halted Arjuna's chariot and said, "O foremost of men, strike Bhishma alone, for it is only Bhishma who is dispersing your army. Now take action, or else everything will soon be lost." O hero, formerly I heard you say in the assembly of kings, "I will kill all the Kaurava warriors headed by Bhishma and Drona." O Bibhatsu, O son of Kunti, O chastiser of foes, now make good your words. Stand before Bhishma Dev. Today he appears like the destroyer himself, with his mouth opened wide to consume all beings. Arjuna then looked around at the annihilation on the battlefield. Even though it was his own army being destroyed, nevertheless he was filled with an admiration and joy. Indeed, Bhishma's power in battle was incomparable. But Arjuna had a duty to perform. Bhishma had sided with Duryodhana. Thinking of the Kaurava prince again simply incited Arjuna's anger. "O Keshav, plunge through this sea of hostile troops and take my chariot to Bhishma Dev, for today I will throw down that invincible warrior." At once, Krishna urged on the silver-white horses, and the brilliant chariot sped unobstructed towards Bhishma. Now, seeing Arjuna coming face to face with Bhishma, the rest of the Pandava army was heartened and rallied back to fight. Bhishma saw Arjuna approach, and he roared like a lion. Immediately, Bhishma covered Arjuna with countless shafts. Within a moment, Arjuna's chariot, with its flag standard and charioteer, became invisible beneath a curtain of arrows. Krishna fearlessly and patiently maneuvered the chariot out from under the arrows. And as he emerged, Arjuna fired 4 straight flying arrows from his Gandiva and cut apart Bhishma's bow. Now angry, Bhishma Dev took up another bow and strung it in an instant. And without delay, Arjuna cut the new bow to pieces with razor-headed arrows. Bhishma praised Arjuna, calling out, "O Partha, well done, well done! I am pleased with you for this wonderful feat. Now, fight even harder with me." Bhishma then whirled around in his chariot, and he appeared with yet another bow. He shot large number of arrows at Arjuna, but Krishna, by his expert driving of the chariot, baffled them all. The chariot went around in swift circles, with Arjuna moving about to keep his arrows aimed at Bhishma. Both Arjuna and Krishna were wounded, and they both resembled angry bulls, scratched by one another's horns. Laughing loudly, Bhishma again covered his foe with arrows on all sides. Why, even Krishna was astonished by Bhishma's skill and power. Seeing Arjuna's chariot swamped, Drishtajumna rushed to his aid, accompanied by a large number of troops. Drishtajumna released volleys of powerful arrows, which distracted Bhishma from his attacking Arjuna. And at the same time, the twins hurled their weapons at Bhishma. Now freed from Bhishma's assault, Arjuna sent countless arrows back at Bhishma and the kings supporting him. Other Kuru fighters rode up to assist Bhishma Dev, and gradually the fight between all the warriors became a general holocaust. And as the two armies clashed, the sun pursued its course to the western hills. Once again, conch shells were blown, and the soldiers lowered their weapons. Slowly they withdrew from the battlefield. Both sides had suffered heavy losses, but the Pandavas had been particularly afflicted by the prowess of Bhishma Dev. As Rakshasas and carnivorous beasts and birds descended upon the battlefield, the troops rested for the third night, exhausted from the day's fighting. Dhritarashtra was cheered by the report of the third day of battle. It seemed that even Arjuna and Krishna together could not check Bhishma when he fought with fury. And there was also the mighty Drona Acharya, who was perhaps even more powerful than Bhishma. What to speak of Kripa Acharya, Ashwatthama, and the other Maha-Bharatas. And even if the Pandavas somehow or other managed to overpower Bhishma, still there was Karna waiting on the sidelines to come into the battle. And since he would not have been fighting, his strength would be fresh. Things indeed looked promising for the Kauravas. The old king Dhritarashtra looked forward with hope to the fourth day of the battle.